Hello everyone, I'm Jeffrey Whetstone and this is my CIT260 final presentation for this semester. Some topics that I'm going to cover as I go throughout this presentation are the differences between static and non-static variables and some demonstrations. Also, I'm going to be talking about when to use array versus an array list and an enum. Other things that I'm going to talk about are a for loop within a for statement within an index to go through the index and access the elements in an array or an array list. I'm also going to talk about how to throw, propagate, and catch custom runtime errors. I'm going to talk about character stream versus byte stream, and I'm also going to demonstrate how to write character data to an external file, and then I'll demonstrate a little bit of the game. So me and my team partner Moses were Team Jedi. We were working on a Path of the Jedi game. And so that's the basis of our game, but I'll jump right into the differences between static class variable and a non-static variable. So a static variable is associated with the class. It only has one copy per class, but not for each object. An instance of a class does not have static variables. So if you have an instance, it can't have static variables. And static variables can be accessed by static or instance methods. So you can use those methods to access them. Non-static variables, however, will only have one copy per object, and each instance of the class will have one copy of a non-static variable. So some examples that I'll show. I'm going to show my screen, share my screen here. NetBeans. So the static, this is a static variable right here. So save game. These variables here are going to be static variables, and when they're called, so here in game menu, we're going to call this. So this is calling the static variables of save game, and so that's how that's done. And then as the non-static variable, so this would be a non-static variable. And then when we call it, let's see. Oh yeah, start program. So this variable is not static, and so that's the difference between static and non-static variables. So next I'm going to talk about when to use an array versus an array list versus an enum. So the array is, you want to use that when you have a model with a fixed length of objects, and then they have primitive values or integers attached to them. I don't have an example of that in our code because we didn't use arrays, but we did use array lists and enums. So if you have a list of items that you want to insert into array, and then they're all assigned a value, then you want to use an array. An array list has a variable length that contains different types of objects. Objects any type can be dynamically added or removed from the list at any time. So line 51, we've got an example of, here, 61, okay. So the array list, this is creating an array list. So list string list equals new array list. So then down here, we're adding all of these items to the list. So metal and metal, synth crystal, red, blue, green, and then hologram training force push. So they're all items that will be accessible in the array list. And then I'll talk about the function that calls those items later. An enum is a special type of list that has a fixed length where all the objects are the same type, but they can never be changed. They have to be, they're always constant. So this is an example of an enum list. So we've got public enum character, and then so this lists all the characters that are in the enum list. So we've got Kale, Romulus, Serena, and R4. They've all got different descriptions. So whenever the character is called, then you'll be able to have the description there as well. So the enum list, they're all the same. They all have the same. They're the same type. So there's not like integers or Boolean or any other type of object there. They're all the same object, which is a string. And then, so when to use an array list, the array list you want to use when you want to be able to remove and add items. So like as I showed here, it says you can add it and then you can list.remove, and then it'll remove items from the list as well. And so if you have items within the list, then you can go through and remove them, or do different actions as you can create more functions and do different actions as you go through it. So that's when you would want to use an array list. An enum is when you want all the same objects or all objects have the same type. That's when you want to use an enum. So moving on to the next portion, we're going to look at this this example of code. So how the for loop or how the for statement works and goes and an index to go through to access the items in the element stored in an array or list. So these are all the items that we have stored, and then we're going to come down to this this for statement. So we're doing integer I, so declaring a variable equals 0, and then I has to be greater than 1, and then I++. And so here, this console.println object get random list. So we're calling this function because we want it to be random. But if you want to access them specifically, then you can have it to access each of these depending on their location. So this would be 0, 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So you could go and get them specifically, but in this case, I wanted to get them randomly because when you explore the location, you'll find a random item when you're playing the game, and then it returns list get index, and so it's going to come up here, find the index or the list, and then it's going to pick a random one, and it's going to return that item, so it'll be displayed to the user. And so that's how the for statement goes through and selects the item from the array list. The next part is how to throw, propagate, and catch custom runtime errors. So we're going to use this example here. Oh, we're going to go back to game control here. So here in the save game that I was using for the example for the static, variable. So here we've got a throws, a try, and a catch. So the try and catch method is really useful because you're able to tell the program to try this, and then if that doesn't work, if there's an error within it, then it'll catch the exception, give a message, and then continue in the game. It won't stop the game like it would if you didn't have this try catch exception. So how it works is you're getting the output stream, and then so it's going to ask for a file path, and then it's going to write the object of the game to that file stream, and so then you're going to basically essentially take all the saved data that you have in your game and then insert it into a text file or file of any sort on your computer. And then when you load the game, same thing, you've got another try and catch. It's going to pull that from, you're going to insert the file path again. The game's going to ask for it, and then it'll pull it back. So I'll demonstrate that really quick. So we've got load game and new game. So we don't have any files yet. So we'll go here, and then let's choose the option to save the game. And then we'll enter in the, file path that I decided I want to use. And then for some reason it's throwing this error, but it does write to this file. So it's inserting the saved items into it's inserting those saved files into the a file I've got here on the desktop. So all right, so that's how to throw, propagate, and catch custom runtime errors. It displays the, let's see, so this game control exception is going to pull up this error. So it's going to find the throwable or the string message and the throwable cause, and then it'll display to the user what's wrong, why it's throwing that exception. It's not working. And then it'll continue with the game like it should, because you don't want it to have to stop every time you have an error. So the character string class versus a byte stream class. So the byte stream is older. That's what they originally used for Java. It reads and writes binary data 1 byte at a time in sequential order. Byte file streams must be used to read and write binary data. So one of the problems with byte file stream is that that you can't write it and read it if it's different formats, if the data is stored in different formats. However, character stream allows you to read and write character data regardless of the format the data is stored in. It supports characters in both ACII and Unicode format. Java recommends using character stream for reading and writing all character data. Character stream should be used because there are multiple different formats that the data is stored in throughout the program. So that's why we want to be using character streams. They're a lot more useful when you have to use them when you have different types of data that you're storing. And in our game example, we do indeed have multiple different formats. So writing, writing the writing character data to an external file. So let's go to, we're going to go to here. So let's see if we can, what's out there? So in order to, so this, I already demonstrated how it works when you're writing the file in the game. So in order to write the data from your save game to the file, we're going to need to have, so in Path of the Jedi in our main file, we've got our print writers, get out file, set out file, and then our getter and setter for the buffer reader, and then the print writer, get log files and set log files. So those are going to assist us in printing and pulling the data that we've stored or that we want to save. And then when in game control, then we're using the save game and load game. We're using those to input and output items as well. Some of the other things we have is that, like the inventory report and ship control report. So we've got, I think this is the one I did. They're all mainly the same though. So it's gonna output this to the file stream, and then it's going to require a file path to write to on your computer, and then it'll write it to the, it'll output it, and then it'll write it to the user or to the file that you specified. It's actually kind of really cool how it works, but that's the demonstration of the code for that. All right, so now I'm gonna run the game, and then I'm gonna demonstrate how it works. So we've got Path of the Jedi. So Path of the Jedi is a text-based RPG game. In this game, you'll play as a young Jedi Knight named Kale, who's seeking revenge on the Sith for what they did to his parents. You'll start by training and learning the ways of the Force so Kale can seek out and find the Sith Lord that killed his family. Exploring the galaxy, learning and finding help along the way. Kale will find vengeance or peace for the past. Enjoy your adventure. May the Force be with you. So enter the player's name below. So I'm going to enter my name, Jeff. So welcome to the Path of the Jedi, Jeff. May the Force be with you. So it pulls my name, inserts it here. Main menu. So we've got load game, new game, how to play the game. So let's look at how to play the game. So movement. These are all menu options that we don't have. I think it just, yeah. So we don't have any specific menu views yet for them. It's something we didn't get to in this class quite yet. So then we can go to previous menu, and then we can go, let's start a new game. So as we go to the new game, we can choose explore current place. So as we explore the location, you're exploring the location. Press 1 to continue, press 2 to return to the game menu. So press 1 to continue, and then we found item 0. So this is item 0 in the array list. So Mandalorian metal. Ideally, you wouldn't be able to find more than one item in one location, but so then we find synth crystal red. That's funny, it's going in order. Usually it does items the same. So we're finding multiple items. We found 3 synth crystal green. So then if we're done, we'll return to the game menu. Find someone to talk to. We're going to find someone to talk to. Look, you're looking for someone to speak with. Press 1 to continue. So we found item number 4 in the array list. Cantina barman. I've got drinks or information. Anything else? Don't bother asking. So at this point in the game, we would have a interactive, like a discussion with the person found, but at this point we don't have that in our game yet. So view items in the inventory. So we've got 2 Mandalorian metal, 4 synth crystal, and 2 hologram training. we can go for, so view crew list. So we don't have the function on that doesn't work yet either, but something that that we can get to as well. So here I did 6, so seek out Sith. So the idea was we could seek out a Sith in the location, and then you could learn some things. But at this point, all we did was implement a fighting kind of strategy or fighting scenario. So we have an input of health for the user and also for the enemy, and so the current health on the user would be 25 after the fight. So the user had 100 and then the enemy had 75. And then the main idea in the game was to progressively heal as you went on. So the next item would be 7, go to ship. So the vendetta, so we can leave location. So that's one of the other cool things we did. So we have enough fuel to take off. So we have a certain amount of liquid hydrogen and tritium that you have to take off. And so it's required 220, and we've got 293. So that's a good thing. And so you can also create a lightsaber from this, but that doesn't quite work yet. So one of the other things that I really liked that we did was go to one of the other things I liked is that for some reason it was difficult for me to figure out how to return to the previous menu. After looking it over, then I figured out that you just had to input the display for the certain menu rather than this dot display, because if you put this dot display, then it would just return to the same menu you're on, but you needed to call the new the class view, or else it wouldn't go back to the previous menu. So that's something cool that we were able to figure out. But that's our fully functional game. It's not 100%, but there's definitely some things that I can work on, and that me and Moses will probably work on. It's been a great semester, and I'm glad we're able to create this game. Thanks for watching. Bye.